fallout, smoke, women crying for their sons because their sons are not, Romans killing riotous groups that are rising up. Free Judea, free our people, autonomy for Israel. You had Herod, an Edomite, and his dynasty. Herod's ruling, killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah. Then you had the Pharisees and the Sadducees that we learn from Josephus are not Jews by birth. No.
Brothers and sisters, they are there. We are not lost. We are scattered. We are original Hebrew.
Let's go! All praises be to the Most High God. Yeah, I say it.
I was opportune to meet my grandparents, whom from childhood had always made us to understand that we are one of the lost tribes of Israel. Okay. So, from my grandmother.
Right? Now look at these. I'm telling you, I got to show y'all. A picture speaks 1,000 words. Just look for yourself. And this is the creme de la creme. All praises be to the Most High, y'all. Everything we've been through, y'all, the Most High is going to retribute it on all the nations that have had a hand in the oppression of his apple, the apple of his eye, his chosen people, his beloved, his fervent lover, his only begotten. They're going to have their part in the lake of fire. You see them tormented by some kind of creature. I don't even know what that even is, y'all. Judgment in chains. He that led into captivity shall go into captivity. All praise to the Most High, y'all. What's up, Zion Dynasty? Let's go! This is your favorite dreaded Israelite, the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. J.B. Zion. Y'all show me some love, show me some love. Y'all already know what time it is. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Zion Dynasty, where yours truly, I'm back in the flesh, back in the drip drop, fringed up. Y'all like the garb? Flesh with another banger of glory, honor, dominion, power, majesty, world without end, to the Redeemer of Zion, the mighty one of Jacob, the holy one of Yasharal, the resurrector of the dry bones of Ezekiel, the faithful father, the loving husband, he that has not forgot about the firstborn, has not forgotten about the apple of his eye, the mighty one, the restorer of his people, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. All glory and honor to the Most High, y'all, and first family. Y'all already know. I gotta say peace, love, blessings, empowerment, courage, all to the 12 tribes of Israel scattered, my Israelite brothers and sisters, my Israelite kings and queens, that mighty army that the Most High is raising up, the 144, the world without end, the mighty nation of kings and queens. Y'all gotta hear me. The kingdom of priests. Shout out to each and every one of y'all, man. I love y'all from the bottom of my heart. Y'all keep your boy pumped up, ready to do it. Yoruba, but I am Ephraim of the tribe of y'all. Keep me on 10, y'all, because this work has to get done, y'all. I gotta tell y'all, a lot of y'all have been like, man, JB, you've been going hard, you've been going in. I gotta do this, family. I could not do it without y'all, but we have to resurrect Zion. The same way our people are bombarded with all this other foolishness, I have to put in that much more work to make sure that y'all are bombarded with these facts, with these receipts, with these scriptures, oh my God, with these prophecies, right? But not just my Israel. I ain't forgot about my Gentile. All of those loving, supporting Gentile sojourners of Zion, those that are supporting this work more now than ever, right? Shout out to each and every one of y'all, not the ones that's trolling. Roll the clip.
Let's see what the Israelites talking about. Well, you know, Israel done away with, you know, whosoever will, let them come.
Hey, yo, y'all Israel now. Oh, y'all black folks, oh, y'all Jews, we was kings. Oh, y'all think y'all was Jews, now you Jewish.
And legalism and, yeah, these Israelites trying to turn us back to the law of Moses. And yeah, neither Jew nor Greek, world without end, that don't matter. Just talking about whosoever will call upon the name of Christ will be saved. For God so loved the world. Well, JB, we ain't saying he didn't came, we just saying he was rainbow. He came for all colors. Don't nobody really know what he looked like.
They saying, well, you can't use Deuteronomy 28.
Even though it says we're gonna go into a country as swift as the eagle flies.
Oh no, you can't use that.
Even though it says we're going to have a yoke of iron around our neck, you can't use that. That's been fulfilled. Even though it says you're going to go into slavery again on slave cargo ships, oh, that's already been fulfilled. And I'm like, Negro, let's go. But all the ones that are faithful, those that know that the Father has not forsaken his people, has not given up on the apple of his eye, has not turned his back on Zion, has not turned his back on the daughter of his dispersed. He has faithful. He is the most faithful Father, the most loving husband, the most relentless God to his people. He has not forgotten. I thank y'all Gentiles that are sojourning and that are supporting this work, because we could not do this without y'all. So y'all go ahead and like this video up, comment, share, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Join the movement, y'all. I do this for y'all to enjoy these lessons. You know, we're animated and all, but I love you all from the bottom of our hearts. Me and Shawnee D, we work so hard to get these lessons out and to clarify all these misconceptions that Christianity and white Jesus that has done to our minds as a people. And for the Gentiles that's watching, y'all understand that's not meant to be disrespectful or anything like that, but it's meant to show you that a lot of the doctrinal tenets that we hold near and dear to our hearts, a lot of these were inspired by a systematic agenda to replace Zion and to usher in the age of the Gentiles. Y'all, I recognize that this work is gritty. This work is the highest work there is. So I thank y'all for just supporting your boys, just supporting this movement, supporting this work, because there's a lot that goes into this. And y'all, as y'all know, this channel has always been based on truth. Every video that I put out, y'all, is as the Most High leads me, y'all. The video that first went viral and blew up Zion Dynasty was me showing the nations, white folks, going into slavery for what they have done to y'all's people. I repeat, showing that the nations, Esau, Edom, white folks are going into slavery for what they've done to y'all's people. So this channel has always been based on truth, and y'all supporting it. I could not imagine that me being able to speak y'all's truth would be received like this, right? So if y'all want to donate, support, Cash App, PayPal, P.O. Box, I'm gonna put all that on the screen for y'all, because without y'all we could not do this. Y'all please subscribe, like this video up, share it to everybody you know, because we're gonna continue this thing. So y'all, we're going into, and I'm gonna put my kufi tight on, because this is warfare. I know a lot of y'all have been just torn between that last video about the virgin birth exposed. Y'all, there are so many precepts. This is gonna be a couple of more videos, because I have buku precepts to show you all that the virgin birth is not historically astute. The early church did not teach this. This is a post, y'all please bear with me now. And y'all, I know this is heavy, but I would not be a servant of the Most High if I was just purely seeking the approval of man. I love y'all, the Most High y'all knows, but I gotta tell y'all the truth. A lot of these doctrinal tenets, it ain't just Easter, it ain't just Christmas, it's the replacement theology that's fueled by the idea that the historical Yahushua was a divine being in the sense of without the sperm of a male. Y'all gotta understand what I'm saying. You have to know that the New Testament was written in Greek. I repeat, the New Testament was written in Greek. Now, the Gospel of Matthew, they say the original gospel was written by Matthew himself in the Hebraic tongue. But y'all, please understand, the work of iniquity has been working for a long time to carefully sculpt out a world religion. Catholic, I already showed y'all, means universal. The Roman Universal Church. This was Constantine, right? The first quote-unquote Christian empire or emperor of Rome, using this vision he had of the cross he saw in the sky, using Christianity to revive the Roman Empire, to bring a renaissance of the white power construct that was falling during his time.
A commonly repeated factoid about Constantine the Great was that he was the first Christian emperor of the Roman Empire. Constantine is well known for his dream-inspired conversion in which a Christian symbol led him to victory in battle. Following that came the Edict of Milan, which made Christianity legal within the Roman Empire. This rule led to the building of some of the most famous churches in the world, including St. Peter's Basilica and the Hagia Sophia. Constantine also, of course, convened and oversaw the First Council of Nicaea, a pivotal moment in Christian history. However, by the time of the council, Constantine hadn't even been baptized. This, despite his professed conversion following his prophetic dream some 13 years prior. Constantine would not, in fact, be baptized until he lay on his deathbed in 337 CE. believing it was best to be forgiven of his sins as emperor all at once. There is actually a great deal of evidence that suggests that for most of his life, Constantine worshipped the sun. The Arch of Constantine, a triumphal monument that stands to this day, was built after his official conversion but bears no symbols of Christianity. It doesn't even have the Cairo symbol to which he attributed his famous victory. Instead, only tributes to the god of the sun can be seen. It's more than likely that Constantine didn't truly care about the theology of the Council of Nicaea. He only sought peace. Even if the Council of Nicaea established the...
So y'all, a lot goes into creating Christianity. Now I'm gonna do a brief historical thing. We jumping right back into it. So I'll let you guys know through a variety of sources. Everything I'm giving y'all, I'm giving receipts. In 2nd Esdras, the hidden apocryphal book, we saw that Esau is the end of the world, the way he does things, white supremacy, America, NATO, those descendants, right? Because we know Zepho migrated to Chittim, became ancient Rome. A lot of those Edomites that dwelt in the clefts of the rock, a lot of Europeans today are descendants from ancient Esau or ancient Edomites. So we know that that people would have the last ruling empire. We looked at the statue of Daniel, how it shows you the Babylonian or the Gentile rulership summed up in a statue. The beginning with Nebuchadnezzar in ancient Babylon, the Medes and the Persians that came next, the Greeks, which also were Chittim people. We see this in 1 Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1, that Alexander the Greek of Macedonia was of Chittim. So that's why you see historically the Greco-Roman Empire, because they were the same people. So you see the ancient Babylonians, the Medes and the Persians, the Greeks are the Greco-Romans going into the Roman Empire. Then the feet, those 10 toes, represent the 10 founding European countries of NATO. It's up to like 27, 28 right now, family. And Ukraine is trying to apply for NATO to be protected from Russia. And that's a whole nother thing. So we see the 10 toes was this iron mixed with clay. The iron legs was Rome. The iron mixed with clay is a new Rome, Constantine. But who and what is Constantine? Constantine was the Roman Empire that made Rome a Christian province. Y'all understand? The Christianized Rome is the last toes, the last ruling element of the statue of Daniel. So that means all these quote unquote Christian European countries that are fueled by, the Roman Catholic Church, but specifically the doctrine of Christianity is the beast system, is that last ruling people, right? There's a lot that goes into this. When Daniel said this is a beast, Christianity is a beast. Y'all, I have been feeling opposition from spiritual, natural, when I started dealing with this subject of the virgin birth. It is such a hang up in the minds of our people because deep down inside, family, we do not love ourselves. White Jesus has demasculinated or stripped the sense of pride and confidence in our people, where we look to a nation that cannot save us. Now, we saw this in scripture. Our people have to fight through this brass shackle slave mindset that is all by design of the Christian church. There's a reason why Constantine used Christianity. There's a reason why Rome and that last empire would use this as the great deception. We saw that the Apostle Paul said, because they love not the truth, I will send them strong delusion. We underestimate the word, y'all. When it says strong delusion, it means strong delusion. The Christianity of today was set up to replace the ancient Judean womb from which the man-child came. Understand, to sever the umbilical cord, if you will, of our people. When you look at the tenets of Christianity, the Roman Council of Nicene faith, when you look at it replacing Passover with Easter, this was a major contentious battle that the Romans had when they came during the first council in 325.
While the Arian controversy was the major issue addressed by the First Council of Nicaea, it wasn't the only one. Believe it or not, another big topic discussed by the bishops was determining when Easter took place. At face value, this might seem like a silly topic, but do you know what date Easter is next year? Can you name it without Googling it? You can't. You can't, liar. In the beginning of the faith, the date of Easter had been tied to the Jewish observance of Passover. However, the bishops of Nicaea didn't want their holy day to be beholden to a Jewish holiday because, anti-Semitism. So while the church had originally held Easter on the Sunday nearest Passover, or even on Passover, The new rule was that Easter had to be held on a Sunday and could not be on Passover, so the attendees settled on the most logical solution. Easter would be held each year on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. You're not wrong if you're thinking that that sounds more like some sort of Wiccan business than Orthodox Christianity, but here we are.
They argued about getting Easter as far away from Passover as they could because they knew historically the early church were Israelites. A lot of y'all said that. Y'all said, well, JB, how you saying that Constantine and Rome hijacked us? We was Christians first. Yes, but the Christianity of the Ebionites, of the Nazarenes, of the Essenes was different than what Constantine adopted. Y'all understand? The early Hebraic Judean believers in Yahushua did not subscribe, I repeat, did not subscribe to a virgin birth. You will not find this. A lot of y'all are using one chapter, Matthew chapter 1, and we're going to break that thing down. I can break that thing down from a historical perspective, from a Israelite cultural perspective, right? Y'all are using Matthew 1 by itself, verses, I believe, 18 through the remainder of the chapter, to substantiate an entire idea of the virgin birth. You will not find this anywhere in Scripture. And I know a lot of y'all saying, well, this was talked about in Isaiah 7:14 about a virgin shall give birth. If I look up that, I'm going to show y'all that word virgin in the Hebrew meant a young maiden. I'm going to put that on the screen. But a lot of y'all go, well, Genesis 3:15 says the seed of the woman. Understand, during that time period, no woman had given birth to a child. This did not happen until post the curse. The whole travail, the whole hard labor, all of that was a process initiated after Adam and Eve. So the Most High is speaking in that cultural element that the seed of the woman. Yes, every human being is the seed of a woman. This does not refute the sperm of the man. Y'all got to put your think caps on, right? So the early Judean church, the Ebionites, y'all research this stuff for yourself. Don't take my word for it. The gospel of the Ebionites. A lot of them did not even have, I know this is hard for y'all to believe, Matthew 1 past verse 17. The Ebionites, the Essenes, the Nazarenes, they believed in Yahushua as the Mashiach, but they did not get hung up or believe in a virgin immaculate conception. This is a Greco-Roman ideology. The New Testament was written, the New Testament that we have today is based on the Greek manuscripts. I repeat, the New Testament today, and this is a lot, y'all take notes, we going in on this thing. We're gonna deal with this virgin birth because I'm telling y'all, it's a hang up because deep down inside, our people do not believe in our inherent worth. I'm gonna deal with that a little bit. I'm gonna show you the implications of the virgin birth. Let me go through that. The implications of the virgin birth is, okay, Christ is immaculate. So this means that everything that he did was from a Herculean Zeus demigod perspective. Understand, this in and of itself disenfranchises humanity, or specifically Israel, from trying to live the way he does. It's subtle though. It's subtle. It's deep down in your spirit. Because deep down you can always say, well, you know, that's Christ. You know, he the son of God. You know, the stuff he did, we can't do that stuff. You know, the stuff he did, we can't do that stuff. You know, he walked on water. He did this because he the son of God. You know, that's where grace has come in. You know, we can't. It's subtle. This, y'all got it. Like I said, these were 300 plus bishops and leaders. And I'm going to put that clip up for y'all to show you, going back to our other Council of Nicaea video. These were leaders that came together to construct a way to adopt the Hebraic culture as the religion of Rome.
The First Council of Nicaea is one of the most significant events in the history of the Christian church, and it would affect European history for years to come. This is the messed up truth of the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea was the first ecumenical council of the Christian church. What this means is that bishops from the entire known world of Christianity came together for the first time to discuss major issues affecting faith. At this point in history, the Christian world consisted mostly of Southern Europe, Northern Africa, and the Middle East. Still, that's a lot of bearded dudes in pointy hats. The council was convened in 325 CE by Emperor Constantine the Great, generally regarded as the first Christian Roman emperor. He held the council in the ancient city of Nicaea. While not literally every bishop in the world was actually present, tradition holds that 318 attended, largely representing the eastern portion of the church. Notably absent was Pope Sylvester I, who did at least send a few representatives on his behalf. Constantine called the council together in order to address issues of division within the church. He hoped to reestablish peace religiously, as he had just done politically by defeating his imperial rival Licinius.
So they had to separate the man-child from the woman. This is by design, because the virgin birth in and of itself says, well, if Christ is immaculate, he the son of God, he wasn't even born of the sperm of man. He ain't like us. He ain't like us. This would refute the plan of the Most High, y'all. Y'all got to hear what I'm saying. The Most High intended to make the Messiah in the image of his people to break the curse of Deuteronomy 28. I showed you guys in the Old Testament that an unjust scale is an abomination to the Most High Yah. You had to have equal for equal. When we look at the law of the scapegoat, right? They took 2 goats, and one is going to get atoned for, and the other one is the scapegoat that they placed the sin of the people by the right hand of the high priest. They confessed all the sin of the people. All of the transgressions of the nation were placed on the scapegoat. They would cut that joker's head off, take the blood and sprinkle it on the other equal goat, and allow the other one to run free. I showed you guys in Hebrews chapter 2 verses 16 through 18. Let's check that out. In Hebrews chapter 2 verse 16 it says, "For verily he took not on himself the nature of angels, but he took him on the seed of Abraham. Wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like his brethren," like his people, "that he might be a merciful and a faithful high priest in the things pertaining to the Most High Yah, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. For in that he himself hath suffered being tempted, he is able to have patience and mercy, or succor them that are tempted." All praises. So we see this is a spiritual legalistic thing that had to happen. Christ had to come as that spiritual scapegoat, be made in the image of the people he is redeeming. So he had to be flesh and blood just from a spiritual standpoint. His sperm had to be the way that we were made, so that there would be no excuse for us to not turn back to the Most High. Christ did never intend for his life to become an idol outside of the Gentile rulership. Now, this thing gets deep. I recognize that I am battling a transitional spirit. The message I'm preaching is the next age, is the great reset, is our people coming on top. So I'm battling our people thinking in a slave mindset of we're just going to sit back and wait on Christ to come back. We're going to just sit back and wait. That has never been the way our forefathers obtained a good report. Without faith, it's impossible to please the Most High. White Jesus and him being born of a virgin demasculinates the nation of Israel, demasculinates our spirit, right? I'm talking about all of us, male and female. It takes away the fight of the nation. It defangs the canine. This is a tool of slavery. To have our people, oh, just wait till you die. Just wait till, things gonna get better. We just got to wait. I'm glad I'm going to heaven. White Jesus, the entire Christian doctrine, but specifically the virgin birth, all were set up to get our minds to just sit back idly. Understand, Moses cried unto the Most High when he saw the Red Sea. The Most High said, pick your rod up. What you got in your hand? Even when you look at Joshua, when Joshua led them to the promised land, the Most High said, just keep walking. And as soon as their feet touched the brim of the water, then it parted. So now Moses didn't have a book to read. Joshua didn't have other than Moses to read. But you see, the Most High required more out of Joshua. Now, how much more faith is the Father going to require of his people? Why do I bring that up? Virgin birth, Christ being immaculate, is a stumbling block that is subtle. Like y'all said, a little leaven that leavens your entire mindset to sit idly by. And I got to deal with this. And I know it's hard. It's a tough pill to swallow. The virgin birth gets our people in a sense of complacency because we can always defer to Christ. That means there's no purpose of Israel, because if he's immaculate and the seed that made him is outside of Israel, this is where Christians come and says, well, he wasn't from y'all flesh anyway. He was the sperm that was from the beginning like Adam was. So Israel don't matter. Christ died for everybody, neither Jew nor Greek. You see how it's a stumbling block? It's a snowball effect by design in your mind. But if I tell you Yahushua was just like you, he was flesh and blood just like you, he was a sperm and an egg just like you, he was tempted just like you, he was hungry just like you, he went to sleep just like you, that he's a black Judean Israelite just like us, but the Spirit of the Most High Yah was divine in him, and that's the Spirit he gave his people. We don't understand that Peter's shadow healed the people. Y'all gotta hear that Paul, he had a man fall off a balcony and Paul healed that joker. The power they walked in was not refuted or diminished because they was flesh and blood Israelites. That's what white people, white supremacy teaches us, that there's something wrong with us. I got to deal with it. Y'all got to hear my heart on this thing. The purpose of the virgin birth is to make us different from Mashiach. Oh no, JB, no, it's just to show that he is fully God. I showed y'all in 2nd Esdras that Israel, let's pull it up. In 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 57, it says, and now, O Yah, behold, these Gentiles, these heathen, these white people, which have always been reputed as nothing. The Most High had nothing to do with the other nations. To this day, he has not changed. Have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. They got us in slavery. They got us thinking like slaves, that we aren't the mightiest nation that ever lived, that we can't get back to Zion. But we, thy people, whom you have called your firstborn. I repeat, your people Israel have you called, O Yah, your firstborn, your only begotten. Pause. I'm telling y'all, everything that Yahushua is and was and is forever is the epitome of the relationship a father has with his people. Christ being fully Israelite is not something detestable. If his lineage, which is from Joseph, that does not make him less than God. I told you guys about Elisha, how the man was chopping down the tree, swung back, the axe head went into the water, and Elisha said, come here. And the axe iron head swam on the waters, came out of the water, and flew to the end of that brother's axe. Y'all got to hear the power that our people walked in. The 3 Hebrew boys went into a fiery furnace, and the fire couldn't touch them. Daniel went into the lion's den, and the lions couldn't eat him. Hear me. Moses picked up a rod, and SeaWorld happened. Physical aquarium. Dolphins swimming, knowing not to go on the other side. Our people walking on dry land. Hear me. Joshua told the sun, don't move until we get through killing our enemies. Hear me. Elijah resuscitated the boy, called down fire from heaven. Hear me. Our people walked in the power. And I could go through all the prophets. It'll take me the whole video to show you that the Most High said, even though I am he, whose going forth has been of old, from everlasting to everlasting, I can take flesh, a lineage, a family, and I can make myself compatible inside of my people, despite what they've been through, despite their sins. Christianity, the virgin birth, says, no, it was something different about Christ. No, it was something different about Christ. You know, Christ was the son of God. You know, he wasn't made like we was. But if I tell you he was Joseph's son, Joseph got on top of Mary and had him. Christ was born just like the shop. Oh no, not my Jesus. Because deep down, you got an inferiority complex. I'm telling you, white Jesus, virgin birth, Israel not mattering, replacement theology, all of it is a puzzle piece connected to eradicate the black man. You got to hear what I'm saying, and to convince us that we're not good enough. No nation operates like that. When you look at the Indian people, they got Buddha, or those Asian people. Every other nation have a God in their image. When you look at white people, this is their culture. Now, white people happen to took our history, our historical Judean birthright, and whitewashed it for their culture. Because we know Esau is a robber and a thief from the beginning, that they don't have a culture. But every other people, they have a God in their image. They have a leader like Confucius, or somebody that came for the people that's just like them, that inspired them to be as God through that chosen leader. We're the only people that not just don't have a culture, we got a white European westernized white man living in our brain. And not just that, they went a step forward. They went a step further. They said, even if you know that he was black historically, even if you know that you're a descendant of him, he was immaculate. You know, he just came like Zeus or something, like Hercules. That's by design, family, to convince us that we can't be the way he was, when we see that's not scripture. Now let me show something with y'all. No other book in the Bible mentions a virgin birth. Even when you look at Matthew, even the word virgin in the Hebrew, so you have Betula and you have Alma. These two words, being young maiden when you look at Isaiah 7:14. So you only see that word virgin, or that they came together. Before they came together, she was found with child in Matthew 1. But even then, you can't interpret that word as meaning she never had sex. But a lot of our people, right when I said that word, oh, that's dirty, oh, that's filthy. This is a righteous act that goes back to the Most High. We live in Babylon and we think like fornication. We think like wickedness. But this was the way the Most High established a lineage. We see in Matthew chapter 1 that it goes through the lineage of Yahushua paternally. And I already told y'all, the early Christians, the Ebionites, all right? When you look at the Nazarenes, when you look at the Essenes, they did not subscribe to a virgin immaculate birth. But we see over time, a Greco manuscript written New Testament came on the scene, because the original Gospel of Matthew was written in Hebrew. The Gospel of Matthew today is the Greek manuscript. Y'all understand? I notice, take notes now. So this is where you see Greek words like panthenos, right? That have a Greek connotation into the language. That's why I tell y'all, this stuff is a stumbling block, because even the name Jesus is a Greek transliteration, not a translation. A translation of his name would be Joshua. A transliteration is the culture of the people translating it, transforming it based on their culture. So they took Yahushua, the Hebraic Messiah, and they converted him to the Greco-Roman Messiah, like Zeus, Hercules, right? So his name, Jesus, or Jesus, gives credence to their culture. So when you look at the Immaculate Conception, it is taking the fact that a young Hebrew young lady had intercourse with a man, Hebrew Judean, and created their Messiah. It translates him to the Messiah, the Zeus, immaculate, Herculean Son of God. It's a transliteration of the concept, because you don't see the Apostle Paul and his letters were written hundreds of years before the Synoptic Gospels. Amy mentioned that again. The Gospels of Paul, the epistles, the letters were written before the Synoptic Gospels. Time had passed where the Greeks and their culture influenced those writings. I know this is heavy, because you don't see Paul mention this. You don't see Peter mention this. Yes, Shaul calls him the Son of the Most High. But I just showed y'all in 2nd Esdras that Israel was the firstborn. Israel was the only begotten. Israel was the son that Moses said, let his son go. Let Yah's people go. Let his firstborn go, that they may worship him in the wilderness. So this was not estranged outside of Israel. We are the descendants of the Most High, the sons of the Most High, the only begotten nation that he's dealing with of the Most High, his fervent lover. So him being the son of the Most High is the call of every Israelite. And I'm kicking against your mindset that wants to sit back idle and go into the sunken place. Stay with me, family. So Paul doesn't mention an Immaculate Conception. He would have known more than anybody, because Paul's writings are earlier than the Synoptic Gospels. Even the book of Revelation is written before the book of John. The Apostle John wrote that first. Also, you don't see the Apostle John talk about an Immaculate Conception. You don't see Peter talking about it. You don't see James, because the early followers of Yahushua did not teach he was the Son of the Most High, because he was born in a Zeus style. They were waiting for the anointed Mashiach of the paternal lineage of David. They saw that as the chosen one, the anointed one, the Son of the living God that would lead his people back to Zion, that would deliver them against all their enemies. That did not subtract from his divinity, family. So that let's go deeper into the precepts. So I showed you guys in the last video. Now, first I'm going to set some groundwork. John 7 verse 38 says, he that believes on me, as the scriptures have said. Now I showed y'all in 1 John chapter 4 verse 3 that any spirit that denies that Yahushua came in the flesh is the spirit of the Antichrist. Any spirit that makes him white, that ain't the way he came on earth. He was a black Judean like the Negroes today are descended. He was a black Judean historically. He came from his father Joseph, because Joseph descended from King David. Now we're going to deal with Mary's lineage, because Mary was the first cousin of Elizabeth. Elizabeth was married to the high priest, which means they were Levites. I got to deal with this. So when they call her Judah, that's consistent with the southern kingdom. Y'all got to know this history now. The southern kingdom was called Judah. Her lineage could have been Levi or Benjamin, and she still be called Judah. But we know that Joseph descended from David. So if Yahushua was the descendant promised Messiah of the loins of David, the king, understand, he had to be descended from Joseph. This was legality. Just like I told y'all, he had to be equal with us. He did not take upon an angelic form. He had to be fully flesh, encounter the fully flesh experience like we do, be tempted like we do, and overcome that thing. That calls Israel higher. That says that, man, if Yahushua could do that, how did he do it? The spirit that was in him, the spirit that he gave to his people, the spirit that I'm speaking in right now. We are not meant to be estranged from our Mashiach. The master and his servant should be equal. Wait, what, JB? Wait, what? No, we ain't supposed to be equal with the master. That gives glory to the master. The purpose of Yahushua was to replicate his life in his people, was his service to be just like him. He said, if you follow me, take up your cross. He said, Peter, come walk out here with me. He meant to replicate his life in a world without end in the children of Israel. Any spirit that teaches that he did not come in the flesh, and I mean Joseph and Mary, is a Antichrist mindset. Y'all are like, no, this can't be. How deep the rabbit hole goes, we may never know. It even infiltrates our minds and what we think that we know. Y'all understand? White Jesus and the virgin birth subconsciously allows us to have a spirit of complacency, idolatry, and slothfulness. Lack of faith, bigotry, sitting back, wanton, all of this comes when you defer to Christ and you swipe the credit card of his grace because you see him as different from you, which that was never the plan of the Most High, because he came to redeem those that were under the law by his life, by his death, and by his ever example of the way he lived. If he came as an angel, y'all hear what I'm saying? We could always say, well, he was different from us, and I done told y'all. So let's go back to these precepts. So I set the groundwork by showing y'all that in Leviticus chapter 15, let's look at that. In Leviticus 15 verse 16 it says, and if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, he or she shall wash his flesh with water and be unclean to the evening. So we see that when you see a man's seed mentioned in the Bible, this is his sperm, right? And a lot of y'all like, okay, we understand it. But we saying the seed of the woman. Women do not produce the seed. They are the soil for the seed of the sperm of the man to be sown into. When you see seed in the Bible, this is a patrilineal statement. So we went into that. Now let's keep going. And the wisdom of Solomon I showed you all. In verse 5, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7 verse 5. It says, for there is no king that had any other beginning. Now what beginning was he talking about? Let me review that. He said in verse 1, I myself also am a mortal man like everybody else, and the offspring of him that was first made on the earth. Whoa, so he was made just like everybody else. The offspring of him that was first made. Now a lot of y'all say, well, Adam was immaculate and that kind of thing. You're not seeing the purpose of Yahushua coming. Yahushua had to be made under the law. I showed y'all that in Galatians 4 verse 4. And we segue real quick. Let's go back. Let's go to Galatians. So in Galatians chapter 4 verse 4 it says, but when the fullness of time had come, when the seed had matriculated through the lineage, the Most High Yah sent forth his son, made of a woman made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive adoption as sons. Now let's go back to Leviticus, or go back to Wisdom of Solomon. So I showed you guys in Galatians 4, Yeshua or Yahushua had to come under the law. We see the law is Leviticus. Leviticus 15:16 says if the seed of copulation comes out of a man, he is unclean. It's not saying that the process is dirty. It's saying that he needs to wash himself with water for germs, for health, and that kind of thing. We think of sex and procreation in a negative sense, mainly a westernized phenomenon. In other Eastern and ancient Judean times, this was a sacred act. It was so sacred that they had to wash themselves with water afterward, and the woman had to separate from the husband during her unclean menstruation. After she gave birth to a man child, it was a different length of time versus after a woman child. They had to separate. So now when you look at that come together, we're going to deal with it. So all of this was the law.
So we see Christ had to come under that specific law, the way we are created, to be an equal, just scale. He had to be just like us, go through everything that we're presented with, but overcome it, to be able to break the requirement and the penalty that the Most High placed on Israel. The Most High wants what he wants, y'all. I gotta tell y'all, he wanted our people to keep that Torah. If we did it, somebody had to come and do it. Not an angelic, immaculate Hercules. No, the Most High said, I commanded Israel to do that thing. So it seems impossible to us. Who's going to free us? The chosen Mashiach that was through our lineage, that was raised up in the fullness of time to fulfill the law in himself, being just like us, frees us from the obligation that the Father placed on us. Let's keep looking, y'all. Please stay with me. So in the wisdom of Solomon, we see that Solomon says, I'm a mortal man, like unto all the offspring of Adam that was the first on the earth. And in my mother's womb, I was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, compacted in blood of the seed of man. Let's pause. In his mother's womb is how he starts. So when you see the seed of the woman, that does not refute the man. We know that the woman is actually giving birth. That's why you might just see the seed of the woman. So Genesis 3:15, Christians try to use, see, the seed of the woman. Yeah, the seed of the woman. That does not mean that the sperm was not involved. We see that in Solomon. So he says, compacted in blood of the seed of man and the pleasure that came with sleep. That was a holy thing, y'all. Solomon was born just like that, getting it in. We saw with Judah that it was a serious thing to the Most High. People dropped dead for not doing right in the bedroom, because we see that one of Judah's sons did not want to raise up the seed of his brother. This is where you got to know those scriptures. Y'all have to know that scripture to deal with this concept, because there's a lot that goes into it. Men fell dead if they didn't resurrect the seed of their brother that may have been dead or died without having an heir, because the land and their inheritance was tied to the lineage, the families, all of that. So it was a sacred act for Israel to give birth to children. And yes, it was a pleasure with sleep. Yes, we enjoy that thing, but it's holy. Y'all gonna understand. Let's keep reading. And when I was born, I drew in the common air and fell upon the earth, which is of like carbon, natural nature, right? And the first voice that I uttered was crying. And I was nursed in swaddling clothes, and that with cares. For there is no king that had any other beginning of birth. Understand, Adam was not a king. The concept of a king, a figure raised up from his people as a leader of his people, that concept did not exist during the time of Adam. Understand, Solomon is saying no king is born with any other beginning. Stay with me, family. No king that has ever been born. So either the wisdom of Solomon is wrong, or the virgin birth is a misconception. There has to be something, because the scriptures can't conflict. We see no other king came on earth like that. Let's keep going. So I showed you guys the different types of customs during the Judean time. Now let's go to Matthew and just go ahead and set that groundwork, which is the big conception or the misconception. Let's look at Matthew. So in Matthew chapter 1, we see now the birth, in verse 18, the birth of Yahushua HaMashiach was on this manner, was in this fashion. When as his mother Mary, or Miriam in the Hebrew, was betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Spirit. Now y'all, it's a lot that goes into this. First, I'm gonna set the groundwork. The book of the Gospel of Matthew, this is the Greek translation. So you gotta understand there's a Greek connotation that's going into this. Even the word Jesus Christ is Greek. So I showed you guys the different customs of the Israelites. Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 13, let's look at that. So in Deuteronomy 22 verse 13, it says, if any man takes a wife and goes into her and hates her for any reason, and gives occasions of speech against her, or brings up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman and she was not a maid, then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city. So now y'all, we're dealing with Matthew chapter 1. It was a marriage ceremony. Now, during that time, this lasted weeks.
The husband, he's enjoying his wife. They're going into the wedding chamber. But this was a period of weeks where they're coming out and engaging with the people. Everybody was celebrating. They had wine. They were praising the Most High for it. They had a naming ceremony. We see the Israelites in Africa still doing this thing. The 8th day naming ceremony. All of this was a part of the marriage ceremony where they were coming together. They were consummating the marriage. The woman is being implanted with the seed. She's becoming separated. All of this was a part of the marriage ceremony in ancient Judean times. The consummation was meant for her to give birth to a child to seal the marriage. Y'all got to know what I'm saying. That's why the virginity of the woman meant everything. They kept the tokens of her virginity. They had a towel that kept the hymen blood. All of this lasted multiple weeks. So when we say before they came together, this is before the finality of their consummation of their relationship. She's found with child. Y'all got to hear what's going on. This was a normal custom. Now, a lot of y'all, let's go to verse 19. It says, then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was thinking about putting her away privately. Now, y'all, we got to deal with that. Y'all saying, well, if this was a part of the ceremony that they consummated the marriage. Now, let's go back to break that thing down. Now, Deuteronomy, I showed you guys. In Deuteronomy, chapter 22, verse 13 through 19. Y'all read it, write it down, read it for yourselves. That during this time, the husband had the option of doing away with his wife for whatever reason. Now, this is a patrilineal, patriarchal society back then. I'm not saying that our sisters didn't mean nothing. Y'all don't misconstrue that. Please don't. I got a beautiful black queen, Israelite queen. I'm telling y'all. And I served that one. I'm telling y'all. So don't misconstrue that. But these are Israelite men leading. So during this time period, they had the option of doing away with her if they found something evil, if they really wasn't fit. I'm telling you, they had that option during this season, during this ceremony. So Joseph had that option. We see that a Greek is writing this because he's almost conveying that Joseph wanted to put her away and that the angel told him not to. Joseph, according to the Hebraic custom, always had that decision. This was not he got her pregnant and now he he saw that she was pregnant and wanted to do away with her. No, the Most High showed him and said that consummation, oh yeah, that's going to be the son of the Most High, right? Don't even think about doing away with this your queen right here. This your bride right here. So this is not saying that there was some conflict or he got frustrated with Mary or found that some other dude slept with her or found that she was impregnated and he thought that she was unfaithful. This is a Greek retelling the customs that during the marriage ceremony, the husbands have that opportunity. You can see other Judeans saying, they're probably talking to this Greek writer saying, yeah, during the marriage ceremony, so he could have put her away. That's according to our custom. They were doing their thing, and before they consummated or fully ended that marriage ceremony, they consummated that thing. She was found with child. He could have put her away. You know, that's a part of our custom. You can see that a Greek is retelling this in Matthew. I'm not trying to hem y'all up or be a stumbling block to where you're questioning how it was written. You have to know that the Greek is a transliteration of a culture. So this is a Greek secondary source relaying the Judean marriage ceremony. Now let's go deeper into that ceremony. Now I showed you guys in the book of Tobit that when you read Tobit chapter 6 through 8, you see that Tobit was going through the same event with his wife. He had heard certain things about her. He was questioning putting her together or consummating the relationship. Y'all see, Israelite men could think like that. That's why you saw during the time of Hosea that the Most High told him to marry a prostitute that was unfaithful. Because during that marriage ceremony, by the law, he could have put her away. And the Most High said, no, I want you to stay with her. So y'all got to understand. Now, this could have been for any reason that the Israelite men could chose this. Y'all got to read Tobit chapter 6 through 8 to understand. Now, I'm going to go to Tobit chapter 8 verse 19 and show you this further. So in the book of Tobit chapter 8 beginning at verse 19 it says, and he, talking about Tobit, kept the wedding feast 14 days. Now y'all showed y'all the wedding feast extended multiple days, even weeks. We saw during the time of the first miracle of Yeshua turning the water to wine that this was the third day that he came to the marriage feast. We see Tobit keeping it for 14 days. The Most High saying, don't do away with this woman.
even though you might have heard some stuff about it. Because you had some Israelite queens that was doing some stuff back then, just like you had Israelite men doing wickedness as well. So the Israelite man had an option to do away with his wife during that marriage ceremony. This was a high feast event, just like Passover, just like unleavened bread. But a lot of our people don't know this Judean custom. So during the time of Tobit, this lasted 14 days before they consummated fully the marriage, before it was official. He could do away with her during that time period. They were supposed to have sex or intercourse in the wedding chamber to create the seed of Israel according to that tribe. After that child she was separated during that time after she consummated. This was a part of the Judean custom. She was unclean for a certain amount of days. And when she gave birth, we know on the 8th day, they would have the marriage ceremony. All of this went together. Y'all understand? So the wedding ceremony, the consummation of the marriage, was a week-long, multiple-week event. Now, we see in the book of Tobit that it was 14 days. Let's read verse 19. Or verse 20. For before the days of marriage were finished. So the marriage was not finished. They had not fully come together. That's the ceremony. It's multiple days, y'all. Now, understand. Raphael had said unto him, Tobit, by another angel, that he should not depart till the 14 days of marriage were complete. This was the ceremony. So they were not finalized. Mary and Joseph had not finalized the ceremony. Now in Judean custom, when a man was betrothed, this is different from the engagement of our Western mindset. He could go into the chambers of his wife. Now the marriage was not complete. It was up to that Judean man to get a house for his bride, because you couldn't be no deadbeat. You had to show the father how you were going to take care of her, but you could go into the wedding chamber. I repeat, y'all read these scriptures. Read the book of Deuteronomy. Read chapter 22. Read Tobit, chapter 6 through 8. During this time period, he could go into the chamber of his engaged wife, but it was his responsibility before the marriage was finalized to prepare a place for his wife. So he had to go get his partners together, everybody, build a home. This is why Yahushua says, I go to prepare a place for you. But he had consummated his relationship with the church spiritually by giving his spirit to his people. That's why, you know, when the Greeks were writing the New Testament, they saw this spiritual element and they took it into a Greco-Roman mindset. Christ prepared a place for his people, has prepared a place for his people, even Zion by his blood, after consummating his relationship with his queen. Oh man, y'all got to take some notes. So Joseph had already gone into Mary. He had the right as being engaged. But the marriage ceremony was not finalized, family. This was not finalized. He was going to get the house for her. He was going to prepare a place for her, get the home for Mary. He was able to go in, but the ceremony of them coming together and fully officializing the expiration date of the marriage feast had not come to pass. Let's keep going. So family, we see in Tobit 8 verse 19 that it says that Tobit's was 14 days. Now let's keep going. So family, now we're gonna go to the New Testament, and I'm gonna show you that this marriage ceremony was multiple days, even weeks. So in John chapter 2 verse 1, it says, and the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Yahushua was there. Y'all, we fly through this without paying attention. You got to slow down when you read these verses. There's a marriage ceremony going on. On the third day, Yahushua goes, right? During that time, we know the story. His mother says, whatever he tell y'all to do it. Just know they ran out of wine and they want more wine for the marriage feast. You already know Yahushua says, my time ain't come yet. But he goes ahead and he touches the brim of these basins they fill with water and turns the water into wine. We know that story. But I just went to this to show y'all the marriage feast was multiple days. So family, let's do a quick review. So I showed you guys that there was a marriage ceremony that lasted weeks before they are officially termed, before they're officially said to have come together. The marriage ceremony, the completion of these weeks, had to come to pass before it's finalized. That's why you might even see Daniel saying before the fullness of weeks, or the fullness of the weeks. A lot of this goes into that marriage parable, just like Yahushua, who consummated his relationship with his people, breaking the curse and saying, I go to prepare a place for you.
During this time, the Israelite man could do away with his wife. It was up to him to prepare a place for her to live, to show that to the father. During that time, he can go into the wedding chamber. He's loving on the people. This is a big, glorious feast. All of this is going on during that time period. So when you read in Matthew 1 that before they came together, understand this is a Greek writer portraying, well, before they got married, she was found with a baby. This is a Western mindset saying, well, before they were married. No, the marriage had begun before it was finalized. They had consummated the relationship. This is consistent with Judean principles. Now, we finna go in with these precepts. Now that I done showed y'all that groundwork, now that I showed y'all that Solomon said no king has been born under any other circumstances, now that I showed y'all that any spirit that denies that Yahushua was fully man and fully the Most High Yah is the Antichrist spirit and agenda to destroy Zion mentally and spiritually. So I showed y'all that in 1 John. I showed you John 7:38 that says, he that believes on me, as the scriptures have said. We have gone through Tobit. We've gone through Deuteronomy 22. And we've gone through Judges 15 verse 1. You can read 2nd Ezra 10 verse 1 about the marriage ceremony. We got all that out the way. And we know that Leviticus 15:16 says that the seed of copulation is the sperm of man. We see Solomon in Wisdom of Solomon say that same thing. He said that I was made by my mama. I was a seed of my mama, compacted in blood. The seed of man. No king was born outside of that. So now we know that the Father said no king was born like that. So either the Bible's wrong or it's contradicting itself, or Christianity is lying. So we got Solomon. We got the customs of the Judeans. And y'all stay with me. Stay with me, family. We got Deuteronomy 22. We got the book of Tobit. The book of Tobit is talking about that as well in chapter 6-8. We got John in the New Testament talking about the third day of the marriage feast. Now let's see if Yahushua is the physical seed descendant of Joseph, who is a descendant of David. And we're going to go back to that Matthew chapter 1 and we're going to deal with it. So in that same Matthew, we're going to start at the first verse. We ain't going to just jump to 18. In verse 1, it says, the book of the generation of Yahushua, Hamashiach, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac begot Jacob, and Jacob begot Judah and his brethren. And Judah begot Pharez, and Zara of Tamar. And Pharez begot Esrom, and Esrom begot Aram. I'm going to go through it, family, because our lineage is holy. We got to deal with it. And Aram begot Aminadab, and Aminadab begot Nasan. A lot of y'all skip these lineages. And Nasan begot Solomon, and Solomon begot Boaz, and Boaz begot Obed. Now this is in the book of not Esther, but the book of Ruth, where we see that Ruth and that whole Ephrathite family of Judea. Well, you know that. Y'all read the book of Ruth. So in the book of Ruth, we read about Boaz, the kinsman redeemer of that plotted land and all that thing. Boaz begot Obed of Ruth, and Obed begot Jesse, the Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judea. And Jesse begot David the king, and David the king begot Solomon, and of her that had been the wife of Uriah. So the scriptures even tell y'all that iniquity was going on. Our people don't understand the faithfulness of our father to the children. Even though our people came through some messed up lineages, we know about Obed and Ruth and Boaz and a lot of kinsman redeemer stuff going on. We know about how David got Uriah killed on the front line to get his wife. And through that lineage, now the prophet Nathan prophesied death on that first child, but the second child is Solomon. Y'all, let's keep going. So we see that David begot Solomon of Bathsheba, who was the wife of Uriah. And Solomon begot Rehoboam, and Rehoboam begot Abiah, and Abiah begot Asa, and Asa begot Josepheth, and Josepheth begot Joram, Joram begot Uzziah, and Uzziah begot Jotham, and Jotham begot Achaz, begot Ezekias, and Ezekias begot Manasseh, Manasseh begot Amon, and Amon Josias. Now y'all might have to skip a little bit down here. Okay, so in verse 16 it says, and Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, whom was born Yahushua, who is called the Messiah.
So all generations from Abraham to David were 14 generations. And from David until when they were carried away in captivity in Babylon are 14 generations. And from when they were freed from Babylon until Yahushua is 14 generations. Y'all, this is a holy lineage. I already showed y'all Mary was related first cousin style to Elizabeth, the wife of the high priest. So we know they were Levites. The Levites were considered Judah, but not the tribe of Judah. Understand, the tribe of Judah, the providence of Judah, is Joseph's lineage. Joseph was a descendant of Bethlehem Ephratah of Judea. That's the lineage that the Bible is giving you of Yahushua. I already told y'all the gospel of the Ebionites, the gospel of the Nazarenes, the gospel of the Essenes, they stop at verse 17. And these were the original followers of Yahushua. This gets into Peter or Kepha, Yahuchanan or John. This gets into Shaul or Paul. These early Israelites, the foundation of the church, the ancient Christian church, was different from the Council of Nicaea. Virgin birth and Christmas and Easter and all of that stuff came later during 300 AD. But before that time period, the early church believed in Yahushua as the descendant of Joseph, the son of Joseph. Let's keep going. Let's go into these precepts about Yahushua's lineage being a descendant of Joseph and why that is so important from freeing us. He had to be just like us to free us, or the price ain't been paid for our obedience. A human being had to pay the price, right? Or we're going to continue to suffer if we don't accept that Yahushua was just like us. He was that middleman. He did what we were supposed to do, to take the sacrifice, to take the death that the Most High required for our disobedience. Let's keep going. So family, we're going to go through these precepts to prove that Yahushua was the son of Joseph. Let's start in Luke. So in Luke, family, chapter 2, verse 47, we read, and all that heard Yahushua were amazed at his understanding and the answers that he gave. And when they saw him, they were amazed. And they said, and his mother said unto him, Son, why have you dealt with us? His mother said, Son, why have you dealt like this with us? Behold, your father and I have sought thee with sorrowing. And he said unto them, How is it that you sought me? You knew I had to do my father's business. Now y'all, we got to look at this now. Now that's a double entendre on Christ's part, because his father, we already know, is talking about the Most High. But he's also going into some messianic prophecies about the work that he had to complete as the descendant of David. So it's a double entendre, but check this out. So Mary says, me and your father have sought after you. Y'all understand? Mary calls Joseph the father of Yahushua. Not just Mary, but everybody knew. Let's go through this. Now in Luke chapter 3, verse 23, it reads, and Yahushua himself began to be around 30 years of age, as it was supposed, the son of Joseph, the son of Heli. Now y'all understand? Now the parentheses, as it's supposed, understand whenever you see parentheses in the text, this is an insertion. And I know this is a lot for y'all to handle when I start nitpicking scriptures, going into the Greek manuscripts and says, well, this is not consistent with the earlier manuscripts. We have to do our due diligence, Zion. It can be a fearful task, but we got to deal with this stuff. So we see in Luke 2:23, we saw in Luke 2:48 where Mary calls Joseph his daddy. Luke 3:23 says that Yahushua is the son of Joseph. Let's keep going. Now we already saw Matthew 1 says that that's the lineage that Christ was proved to be the son of David, the Messiah, son of Abraham. Let's go look at some more precepts. In Luke chapter, that same chapter, or that same book, Luke chapter 4 verse 22, it says, and all bear him witness and wondered at the gracious words that proceeded out of the mouth of Yahushua. And they said, ain't this Joseph's son? I'm telling y'all, the whole community knew that that was Joseph's boy. They said, ain't this Joseph's son? The carpenter's son that's doing all this great stuff? They would have known who his pedigree was during the marriage ceremony. It was a public event of the consummation of the marriage. They knew, they had the tokens and everything, that he was born under the law, under the sinful flesh image, just like us, to rise above and be perfect without sin in the life that he lived. thereby justifying the Most High, freeing us from the curse, because he was just like us, born under the law just like us, yet obedient to the Most High Father and everything he told him to do. Let's keep reading. In John chapter 1, verse 45, we're going to go through these scriptures. It says, Philip, finding Nathanael, and said unto him, we have found him, we have found him. These are the early disciples of Yahushua, saying, we have found him, of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write. Yahushua, the Nazarene, the son of Joseph. Y'all got to understand these things. Yahushua was the son of Joseph. Now I can go deeper into his lineage, but y'all ain't ready for that part. Yahushua was the son of Joseph. Everybody knew. They knew that Moses prophesied that. When did Moses prophesy that? Let's go to Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18, it says, and I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren. Let's segue that back to Hebrews. In Hebrews 2:16 it says, for he took not the nature of angels, but of the seed of Abraham. Wherefore it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren. Line upon line. Let's go back to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 18:18. I will raise a prophet from among their brethren, flesh and blood, just like Solomon, just like every other Israelite was born, like unto you, Moses, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them as I tell him to speak unto them. All praises be to the Most High Yah. So we see back in John 1:45, everybody knew he was that prophesied Mashiach that Moses, the prophets talked about, that came through a specific lineage. Joseph's going all the way back to David's, that David lineage that goes all the way back to Abraham. This was prophecy that this leader, this deliverer, had to come that way. The Most High had sworn an oath to David, and we're going to deal with it. So now let's go to John chapter 6, verse 42. And it says, and they said, is not this Yahushua, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? Well, they already knew. They had the tokens of the virginity. I told y'all the marriage ceremony. Let's keep reading. How is it then that you say you come down from heaven? See, our people even then did not respect Yahushua because they knew his pedigree. I'm telling y'all, this is where white Jesus comes in. It has us crucify a Dr. King, kill Dr. King, kill Malcolm X, kill Fred Hampton. Our people never get it to come together, and thereby J. Edgar Hoover, the Council of Nicaea, COINTELPRO, the Mark of the Beast Christianity, they win. Because they get us to think that don't look within your people. Don't think among your brethren. I know this is heavy, y'all, but I gotta speak the words the Most High is telling me to speak to y'all. This was set up by design, a lack of distrust for the people. That's why we've never had a leader come since then to be able to unify the people, because we think that, oh, he gotta come glowing and immaculate. Yahushua the Mashiach, y'all hear me, was born like other Israelites. From a spiritual perspective, he had to be to redeem us and be an equal weight. An unjust scale, I'm gonna tell y'all, is an abomination. The Most High, that's a heavy word. Y'all gotta hear. When the Most High says he detests that, that's like white people saying we're gonna give them $3,000 for reparations. That's an unjust scale when you look at the courtroom of heaven and the 400 years of oppression we've gone through. Whenever you deal falsely like that, that's an abomination to the Most High. So when you look at a sacrifice, the sacrifice had to be the same as the atoning benefactor. They had to be equal. That's why Yahushua could not be an angelic Hercules figure, because we could always say he wasn't like us. The Most High knows that we can say he's not like us. No, he said, I'm gonna make him just like y'all, but without sin. That means he's gonna be given a choice just like y'all are given. Wait, what? That means we can do better by the spirit of Yahushua. Wait, what? Because a part of the Deuteronomy 28 curse was the Most High separating from us. That means the spiritual strength and fortitude to live right and to live Torah. There's a spiritual component of that thing. And when the Most High got tired of us for what we did and separated for a season, We lost that power that we had going back to the beginning. Yahushua come to regenerate. Yahushua came to regenerate that relationship, and the spirit he has justified us receiving that spirit, consummating that relationship to be able to return back to our former glory, return back to Torah, because he balanced the scales of the Most High, pacified the anger of the Most High for what we've done in his life, in his death, all of it. And chestnut checkers, he got that book everywhere because his life was so powerful. He wanted the Gentiles to create Christianity to get that book everywhere, chestnut checkers, so that when the diaspora, when we woke up to who we were, everybody got a King James. Y'all hear me? Let's keep going. So in John 6:42, we see that it said that, man, that isn't this not Yeshua or Yahushua, the son of Yosef, whose father and mother we know? Now let's go to another precept, John chapter 7, verse 42. Now this is John. John would have known more than anybody else. He was the inner circle of the apostles. I'm dealing with the first fruit. I'm dealing with the foundation of the early church. I'm skipping the entire Roman intervention, the entire Greek understanding, and I'm going back to the people that handled him, that dealt with him, that touched the body of Yahushua. They know who he was. They knew he was of the son of Joseph. And we're going to look at John. John chapter 7, verse 42, it says, did not the scripture say that Yahushua HaMashiach comes of the seed of David, out of the town of Bethlehem where David was? So there was a division among the people because of him. A lot of people was divided on that thing even back then, because the scriptures did say that he had to come through that lineage. Now even some of them was thinking that it was going to be some glorious event, but they said the scriptures clearly teach he had to be a physical descendant of David through that lineage, through Joseph, to be able to redeem the people. Even coming out of Bethlehem had to happen strategically. This was a stumbling block then, and it's a stumbling block now. This is where you see whenever our people were divided, white folks came in and they sided with the Immaculate Conception. Y'all got to see this. Let's keep going. So family, we see in Acts chapter 2, verse 30, it says, therefore, this is Peter talking. No, we're going to go back to verse 29. Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his grave is with us to this day. So Peter is saying, we already know that David is dead. So when David in Psalm 16 was saying he has not suffered his Holy One to see corruption, what was he talking about? Because we know David was dead. We know we got the grave right here. Let's keep reading. Verse 30, it says, therefore being a prophet, and knowing that the Most High Yah had sworn with an oath to him, that of the fruit of his loins, the fruit, the seed of copulation in Leviticus 15:16. This is talking about the sperm. The sperm is only given by the patriarchs. Only men produce the sperm. For him to be the sperm of David, he had to descend. This is why the Y chromosome does not mix in meiosis. Y'all got to hear what I'm saying. The Y chromosome doesn't even engage in the swapping process that our X's do to create genetic diversity. The Y is passed directly because it's only one of them. So it does not mix because the mother doesn't even have a Y. It goes straight from father to son, father to son. That's the power of the Most High Yah. That's why I teach about E1B1A, but that's a whole nother thing. So the paternal seed or fruit is the sperm. Yahushua had to be a human David sperm. Let's look at it. Acts 2:30. Therefore being a prophet and knowing that the Most High swore. Y'all don't know how serious the Most High is. He said an unjust scale is an abomination. He said, I swore to David that of his sperm I'm going to raise up the Messiah. Not so. How can the Messiah, the Savior, come out of a lineage? He said, David, you pleased me so well. I can use your body, flaws and all, to create perfection in the earth. This is why our people need to rally behind this thing. That Yahushua is the son of Yosef. That's hope for Israel. That means the Most High is going to use his people. That he has not forgotten about Zion. That even in our cursed state, the Most High said, I'll resurrect that thing. And that's what he did in David's sperm, in his testicles. He raised up Mashiach through the sperm of a man. Let's keep reading, y'all. He seeing this before spoke of the resurrection of Hamashiach,
that his soul was not left in hell, neither did his flesh see corruption. All praises to the Most High Yah. So we see that Peter is saying that the Most High swore to David that of his sperm he was going to raise up the Mashiach. That's Peter. We saw John say it in John 1:45, John 6:42, John 7:42. Now we see Peter saying it in Acts 2:30. We're going to see in Acts 13 the same thing. In Acts. No. Whoa. Before I go to Acts, let's deal with that promise that the Most High made to David. Let's go back to 2 Samuel. In 2 Samuel chapter 7, let's start at verse 11. And as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused them to rest from their enemies, also the Most High Yah tells you that he will make you a house, David. Now y'all gotta understand, now it's a lot going on in that context. David wants to build a temple for the Most High. He said, I want a glorious building that symbolizes your presence with your people. The prophet tells David that that's a beautiful thing, David, but you're not gonna do it. Because you shed so much blood fighting off the enemies of the Most High Yah, I'm gonna let your son inherit that task. But understand, the Most High is so impressed with you remembering him after he delivered y'all that he's gonna make you a tabernacle. That's why the New Testament says that we're the housing flesh of the Most High. We're the children of the Most High. Y'all understand that his spirit dwells in our tabernacles. So he says that, David, I'm gonna make you a tabernacle. I'm gonna make your body a perpetual lineage, that through your seed is gonna come a son that I'm gonna love. Let's read it. So he says in verse 13, he shall build an house for my name, talking about Solomon, and I will establish your throne, the throne of his kingdom forever, and I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chastise him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. There's a lot in this. A lot of scholars say this is talking about Solomon. And to a first degree it is. That Solomon was that seed that was to come through David's lineage and build the temple. This is a spiritual prophecy of the descendant of Solomon, who we saw in Matthew 1, is Joseph, who is Yahushua's father. Let's go to another precept. In Acts 13:23, it says, of this man's seed, talking about David. Let's go back to 22. He said, and when he had removed Saul, he raised up unto them David to be their king, to whom he gave testimony and said, I have found David the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. He shall fulfill all my will. Of this man's seed hath the Most High, according to a promise, raised unto Israel a Savior. Y'all, it's so clear. I showed you Acts 13:23. Acts 2:30. I showed you John 1:45, John 6:42, John 7:42, Peter in Acts 2:30, the oath that was sworn to David in 2 Samuel 7. When you look at the Bible, y'all, the Bible teaches he was the descendant of Joseph. He was the descendant of Joseph. You guys are misinterpolating Matthew 1:18. And family, y'all got to stay with me with this thing. That one verse, which you could easily say is a misinterpolation. I showed you guys the customs of the Judean time period. We can see how that has been a fabrication, not based on a precept, not based on line upon line, not based on the entirety of the witnesses of the scriptures, y'all. So let's go further. In Romans chapter 1, verse 3, concerning his son Yahushua, the Mashiach, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh, verse 4, and declared to be the Son of the Most High Elohim with power according to the Spirit of holiness by the resurrection from the dead. Y'all hear this thing? Paul said, I'm going to make it clear. Yahushua, the Son of the Most High Yah, Hamashiach, our Lord, was made of the seed of David, the sperm, according to the flesh. There is one way he could be made the seed according to the flesh. Intercourse of Joseph and Mary. Joseph being a descendant of David, Mary being a Levitical descendant. They came together, Judah coming together because she was southern kingdom as well. They coming together, consummating the marriage and creating Yahushua according to the sperm, the seed of David according to the flesh. Not just that, y'all. Let's go to another precept. Now, in Isaiah 11, verse 1, it says, and there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse. This is talking about a branch, an offshoot, a descendant of Jesse, the Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Ephratah, Judea. And a branch shall grow out of his roots. Now, y'all, let's deal with this. So it was prophesied in Isaiah that a branch, an offshoot of the root. Your roots is your ancestry. This is where we get know your roots from. And a people without knowledge of who they are is a tree without roots. Marcus Garvey. Your roots is your ancestors. So there shall come forth a Messiah as a branch out of Jesse, a descendant of Jesse, who is a descendant of Obed, who is a descendant of Boaz and Ruth, right? We read that in the book of Ruth. And a branch shall go forth out of these roots, talking about the Messiah. How do we know this? In Revelation, the last book of the Bible, it says, in chapter 22, verse 16, it says, the last chapter of the Bible, I, Yahushua, have sent my angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and the morning star. Y'all hear me? Yahushua says, I am this lineage. I am my forefathers. I am a descendant of my forefathers. I am, because we are. This is African, Judean, Hebraic mindset. Because that's why he says, I'm the root. I am my forefathers. I am those that came before me, and I am the offspring of those that came before me. He's saying he is the seed of David, the descendant of Joseph. So y'all, this could go on for eternity, but I'm going to leave you guys with this. This is a series now. We're going to be breaking this thing down. I'm going to go deeper into Matthew chapter 1. I didn't even get a chance to go into Isaiah 7:14 and show you that word virgin in the Hebrew is a young maiden. You could Google that on Webster's, but I'm going to go through that. I'm going to break down those terms, go back into Belchula and Alma, go back into the Ebionites and the works of Jerome that talks about the Gospel of Matthew that was written in Hebrew before this Greek manuscript. I'm going to get into the Syriac, Sinaiticus, a lot of these ancient manuscripts that go back to Alexandria, Egypt, the African, Hebraic, Judean early church of these Negro Israelites that had already been living deeper in the continent, as well as Northeast Africa and Israel. Their doctrine, like the Ethiopian church, the African Christianity that predates Roman Catholicism, did not subscribe to the virgin birth. So y'all, we gonna go into this thing, and y'all, I just pray y'all just stay with me, because I'm gonna present all these facts, all these precepts, and all this history to nail this home, because I know this is a stumbling block created by white supremacy to do away with Israel, to replace Israel with the church, to tell Israel that, okay, well, Christ is white. Well, no, he was a Judean. Okay, so he's black, but he was the son of the Most High. He was immaculate. So that still doesn't make y'all rally behind some national message. He was a spiritual entity that reconciled all of humanity. So white Jesus, the virgin birth, replaces Israel with the church, tells them that he was different from y'all, so don't turn back to your commandments. Please don't, because that might break the curse. All of this is the mark of the beast, Christianity, white Jesus living in the bodies that is the minds. Like, get out of y'all's people. Y'all hear what I'm saying? All of this is the westernized, Romanized, Edomite, last ruling empire that came to use the false prophet that looks like a lamb, that speaks like a dragon, that deceives the whole humanity by lying signs and wonders. Y'all hear me? The great falling away, the great delusion that shifted the early Hebraic church. Paul saw this coming. He said, it's working already. He lived in Rome. He knew that there was something being created, this Romanized version that was going to try to say that Christ didn't come in the flesh, that was trying to say that Israel is done away with, the great red dragon that comes against the woman. We going to deal with it on Zion Dynasty, family. So I just pray that y'all have patience and understand and take you some notes. Ask questions in the comments. And I love you all with the love of the Messiah. Peace, love, blessings, and Israelite power to every king and queen. I love y'all. I do this labor of love because I want y'all to get this, right? So I love y'all. Y'all be blessed. In the name of our Father, Yahweh, and his son Yahushua, even Yahushua, y'all be blessed, empowered. I love you all with the love of the Messiah. Shalom. All praises.